Hey, hi everybody. Michael DDA here. For the last 2 weeks, we went through 36, 37, and then 38 and 39 of Exodus. It was all about the actual work and the creation of all the tabernacle walls and furnishings and the court furnishings were all being done in those 4 chapters. I wasn't going to read Yasher until we finish 40, but we're going to finish 40 today, and I think it gives us some interesting background information that I don't think that we would see in 40. We would miss it. It's there, but I think that we would miss it if we weren't going to take the time to read this first. You know, there's so many times that I've read something in Yasher, and then I looked for it in Torah. And sure enough, there it is. So Yasher, many times, it's much more clear than Torah actually is. Yasher includes many things that Torah leaves out. But the last time we read Yasher, we were talking about the people bringing Israel's seed, bringing their gifts for the creation of the sanctuary, for the creation of the tabernacle, the Mishnah. No, not Mishnah. It's another M word. I'll get it here in a bit. And we saw, Torah made it look like the ladies were given stuff. But remember, the ladies belong to their man. The children belong to their father. All the things belong to the sons of Israel. Even the ger dwell with Israel. So if the ger are going to bring something, they're probably going to bring it through Israel's seed. And that's why it says, and all Israel's seed. You know, we read it as the children of Israel. That totally screws us up, doesn't it? Because we don't even know who Israel's seed is. Well, we've talked about that in length. If you don't know, read the Born Again series on my blog. Listen to Exodus 12 when we talked about it in here. Yeah, there's Nancy. You're going to have to mute her. Thank you. It said each man. And all Israel brought each man of all that was found in his possession. If his wife had a mirror, it's his mirror because she's his wife, his woman. Remember, there is no word for wife in Torah. All these work together. We got to understand the big picture. So now, let me read this. It's really a very short section. It's not long at all. Here it is. And all the wise men who were practiced in work came and made the sanctuary of Yehovah, according to all that Yehovah had commanded every man in the work in which he had been practiced. And all the wise men in heart made the sanctuary, its furniture, and all the vessels for the holy service, as Yehovah had commanded Moses. Are you seeing these? It talks about men, every man, men in heart, wise men in heart. They're not saying people. They're saying men. Think about that. Grab that. Understand that. And the work of the sanctuary of the tabernacle was completed at the end of 5 months. 5 months. You know, I have to think, where does 5 months start if this is at the end of 5 months? I've got to guess. If we're talking about the end of 5 months, and you're going to see here that we are at the 23rd day of the 12th month right now, we have to back it up. That'll take us back to what? 8, 7 Moses went up to talk with Yehovah on the same day, maybe the day after, that Yehovah gave his 10 commandments at Pentecost. He was there for 40 days. He came down. He went back up another 40 days and nights. Well, right there was 3 months. Close, anyway. So, at the end of 5 months, and the work of the sanctuary of the tabernacle was completed at the end of 5 months. Nancy's got her mic open again. I'm muting her. And Israel's seed did all that Yehovah had commanded Moses. And they brought the sanctuary and all its furniture to Moses, like unto the representation which Yehovah had shown to Moses. So did Israel's seed. And Moses saw the work. And behold, they had done it as Yehovah had commanded him. So Moses blessed them. Now look at what it says here. And in the 12th month, on the 23rd day of the month, Moses took Aaron and his sons, and he dressed them in their garments. Remember this. 23rd day, he's dressing them in their garments and anointing them, and did unto them as Yehovah had commanded him. And Moses brought all the offerings which Yehovah had on that day commanded him. Moses afterwards took Aaron and his sons and said to them, for 7 days shall you remain in the door of the tabernacle, for thus I am commanded. Now keep in mind, there is no tabernacle. We've got the tent of meeting, which Moses would go to and talk to Yehovah. You know, in the past, we've seen this tent of meeting, and I've wondered, is this a place where the elders met? No, Michael, you're wrong. This is not where the elders are going. The elders did not go into this meeting tent. This is a tent of meeting to meet with Yehovah. Moses met with Yehovah here. And this is where the priests are going to be at the door of this tent in the 12th month, on the 23rd day of the month, for 7 days. Not in it. Outside, it says. Moses afterward took Aaron and his sons and said to them, for 7 days you shall remain at the door of the tabernacle. Mishkan, that's the word I was looking for, not Mishnah, Mishkan. The door of the tabernacle. For thus I am commanded. And I've got some things here. You know, if you go to my blog and you look under Yasher, you'll find these notes. You can download these very notes if you want. Nancy says she has a question. I'm going to open the mic and let Nancy ask a question. Or yeah, go ahead, Nancy. She had her hand up. All right, Nancy, we're going to continue. You'll have to ask your questions afterwards. Moses afterwards took Aaron and his sons and said to them, for 7 days you shall remain at the door of the tabernacle, for thus I have commanded. And Aaron and his sons did all that Yehovah commanded them through Moses, and they remained for 7 days at the door of the tabernacle. Now, look what it says here. You know, this is where you got to put pieces together. Here a little, there a little. On the 8th day. What's the 8th day? Being the first day of the first month. Remember, no month in Yehovah's kingdom has more than 30 days. So here is the 8th day which is the first day of the first month of the second year from the Israelites' departure from Egypt. Moses erected the sanctuary. So now the sanctuary is going to go up on this day. And Moses put all the furniture of the tabernacle and all the furniture of the sanctuary, and he did all that Yehovah had commanded him. And Moses called to Aaron and his sons, and they brought olah and kata'ah, sin offerings and burnt offerings. It doesn't say offerings. There is no word for offerings. It's olah. They brought olah for themselves and for Israel's seed, as Yehovah commanded Moses. On that day, look at that. What day are we talking about? We're talking about the first day of the first month of the second year that we came out of Egypt. On that day. This is the day the priests have all been consecrated, sanctified, they're ready to go. And Nadab and Abihu take strange fire and brought it before Yehovah. This is the day of rejoicing. This is the day that Yehovah is going to appear in his temple, so you can't even go in it. And these two boys took strange fire. Zor, fire is the word that they use, and brought it before Yehovah, who had not commanded them. Oh, this is so interesting. I want you to think about something, you guys. Here is the priests of Yehovah. 2/3 of the priests of Yehovah. These guys aren't foreigners. These guys are Israelites, consecrated, sanctified by Yehovah. They brought strange fire, and Yehovah consumed them with it. Here's my question to you. Do you think these guys had sincere hearts? Maybe it was a little bit prideful to think that they could just bring this fire before Yehovah. Let me read the rest of this just so you get the context, and then I'll come back with my question. Who had not commanded them? And the fire went forth from before Yehovah and consumed them, and they died before Yehovah on that day. If he's going to kill his priests for disobeying him, what's he going to do? But what is the penalty for doing Hanukkah, Easter, Christmas? Did Yehovah ask us to do that? Did he? Where did Yehovah ask you to do that? See, you do all kinds of things, doctrines and commandments of men, doctrines and traditions of men. But Yehovah didn't ask for it. And these guys were Israelites. They left the country of their birth, Egypt. Everybody there was born in Egypt, weren't they? They left the country of their birth. They circumcised themselves. They had the Passover. And then they got to leave the country of their birth, or the country of their birth, and come into Yehovah's kingdom. They got all the statutes, the judgments, the ordinances. Now Yehovah's going to dwell with us in the wilderness, in the center of our camp, in the Mishkan. But he killed these men. Do you, who are citizens of another country, voting for another king, keeping false holy days, which we call holidays, do you think you're going to survive? Folks, you are deceiving yourselves. You don't know Yehovah. You know, this Monday is Yom Kippurim. I love it when the feast days fall while I'm teaching. It really is kind of nice. It's Yom Kippurim. But who keeps Yom Kippurim? The Gentiles who think they're somehow Yahweh's people because they keep a few of the commandments of Elohim? Folks, you're deceiving yourself. Speak to Israel's seed. All thy males shall appear before Yehovah 3 times a year. Passover, Shavuot, Sukkot. All thy males. But he's talking to Israel. He's not talking to any Egyptians. He's not talking to any U.S. citizens. He's talking to men who are in covenant with him. That is the Ezra Haaretz, Israel's seed. What is the penalty for doing Hanukkah, Easter, Christmas? Did Yehovah ask us to do that? No. Let's move on. Then, on the day when Moses had completed to erect the sanctuary, he did it on the first day, first month of the second year after we came out of Egypt. It says, Israel's princes began to bring offerings before Yehovah for the dedication of the altar. Israel's princes. These are, there was a man in each tribe that represented the tribe. That was the prince that we're talking about. They brought a certain amount of things to Yehovah. Oh, okay. Well, we'd have to see Numbers 7 to see what they brought. They're actually going to list it out. Maybe we're even going to talk about, oh yeah, they're going to list it out right here. We're going to talk about it right now. And they brought up their offerings, each prince for 1 day, a prince each day for 12 days. So each of the 12 brides, the princes are going to bring. What are they going to bring? Here it is. And all the offerings which they brought, this is for the dedication of the Mishkan, all the offerings which they brought, each man in his day, 1 silver charger weighing 130 shekels. Here, this is enumerated right here in number 7, 11 through 17. Everything in number 7, 11 through 17 is here. I verified it. It's all the same things. Each man in his day, could say on his day, brought 1 silver charger weighing 130 shekels, 1 silver bowl for 70 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary, both of them full of fine flour mingled with oil for meat offerings. That's minka offerings. The minka is not a meat offering. It's wine or it's grain or bread of some sort. 1 spoon weighing 10 shekels of gold, full of incense. 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1 lamb of the first year for an Allah. 1 kid of the goats for a kata'ah. And for a zavakim of the peace, zavak is a slaughter of the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 goats, 5 lambs of the first year. That means they're less than 1 year old. Thus did the 12 princes of Israel, day by day, each man in his day. And now we're not going to be back here until we finish Leviticus. So we're not going to be back here for quite a while. Now, that said, let's take a look at what we're going to cover today, because this is going to be what looks like the first day of the first month of the second year. Well, there's more to this story, and we're going to have to dig in deeper to see it. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses. When did he speak to Moses? I think he was speaking to Moses, what we're hearing now, back on the 23rd of the 12th month. Watch. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses. Now, I have a note here. Remember, this is Yehovah speaking to Moses. He's not speaking to the people. Moses has got some jobs that he needs to get done. Let me read my notes here. It says, why do I have House of Israel? Where is that even coming from? Tenants of Israel. I don't even see it. I put, but yet equals Israel's house. Oh, the tent of, no, I don't know where that came from. Maybe it will be down here. Let's bear with me, okay? Are all Ezra, Israel's seed are all Ezra men. They follow the cloud and their families. This is kind of an overview of this chapter, I guess is what I'm doing here. They follow the cloud and their families follow them, all along with the Ger who dwell with them. The Ger are following them as well. Yes, the family saw the cloud, but it did not. But it's not about the women and the children and the Ger following the cloud. It's about the head of the household following the cloud. These are all things we're going to talk about as we go through this. Maybe this note is kind of in the wrong order. I put this glorious day, the day that Yehovah appeared in the tabernacle, is the same day that Nadab and Abihu died. They brought strange fires in Leviticus 10 about them bringing the strange fire to Yehovah. Oh, and here it is, Leviticus 10:16, the whole house of Israel. And Moses said unto Aaron and to Eleazar and Ithamar, his sons. This is after the boys died. Here's Moses talking with Aaron and the boys. He says, do not uncover your heads. Remember, you're going to take your head off, tear your clothes in mourning. Don't do it, lest you die, and wrath come upon the people. But let your brethren, talking about men, the whole house of Israel, Israel's house, bewail the burning which Yehovah has kindled. Well, we're not even going to see in this chapter, even though we're going to see it is going to be the day, not yet. It's going to be the day, first day of the first month of the second year. We came out of Egypt. We don't see that here, but we see that in other portions that talk about the same thing. So it says, the next verse, on the first day of the first month. This is Yehovah talking to Moses. He told him, on the first day of the first month, you shall set up the tabernacle, the Mishkan, a tent of meetings. Oh, this is so interesting. We're bringing the Mishkan, here it is, Mishkan, a tent of meetings. You know, when I read this, I'm going back and forth. You've heard me talk in past weeks. I'm always learning. I have no problem saying I was wrong. I think there's a better answer. I think there's a better idea that we need to understand. This is talking about the Mishkan, a tent, a meeting tent. Let me ask you this. Did the elders of Israel go into the Mishkan? No, only the priests can go into the Mishkan. So what is the meeting tent that we had before? It was a tent that Yehovah talked with Moses that only he and Joshua, as far as I can tell, went into. At one point he left, Joshua stayed, it said. But this is a tent of meeting. This is the place where we are going to meet with Yehovah. Can a woman in her menses meet with Yehovah? If Israel's seed can't meet with Yehovah, the elders of Israel's seed can't meet with Yehovah. Can a woman? No, she can't. And it came to pass on the first day, first month, second year, and it came to pass on the first month of the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised up. I put, this is the first day of the first month of the second year. You know what? This is not the first day of the second month of the second year. This is the 23rd day of the 12th month of the first year. Gotta get it in order. Yehovah is talking to Moses. And that's why you got to pull these out. I mean, I used Exodus 29. We use Leviticus 8 through 10, Numbers 7, and we just read Yasher 83. Thus you shall say to Aaron and his sons, according to all that I have commanded you, 7 days you shall consecrate them. That was in chapter 29. That was 7 days before. Well, really 8 days before where we are right now, because it said on the 8th day after they had been consecrated 7. So that brings us back to the 23rd. And I just read Yasher, this stuff about the 23rd day, where he put on their garments. They did the slaughters, the burnt offerings, the sin offering. And then on the 8th day, on the 8th day, which is going to be the first day of the first month of the second year that Israel came out. So now Yehovah is still talking to Moses. Verse 1, then Yehovah said to Moses, all these say thou. Verse 3, thou shall put the ark of the testimony and the partition off the ark with the veil. Thou shalt bring the table and arrange the things that are to be set in order on it. And you shall bring in the lampstand and light its lamps. Thou shalt set, I just read you, but it doesn't say you. It says thou. Talking to Moses. This is not the people that are doing this right now. This is Yehovah giving Moses instructions. Thou shalt also set the altar of gold for the incense before the ark of the testimony, and put the screen for the door of the tabernacle, the Mishkan. Then thou shalt set an Olah altar. That's what it says. It says an Olah altar. The Olah, you shall set the Olah altar. They said the altar of burnt offerings. That's all. It says the Olah altar. That's all it says. The Olah altar. Before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, the Ohel Moed. And thou shall set the laver between the tent of meeting and the altar, and put water in it. Thou shalt set up the court all around. This is the white cloth that went all around the tabernacle, and hang up the screen at the court gates. Thou shalt take the anointing oil and anoint the tabernacle, all that is in it. And thou shalt, and thou shalt hallow it and all its utensils, and it shall be holy. Thou shalt anoint the altar, the Olah altar, and all its utensils, and consecrate the altar. The altar shall be most holy. No Israelite touches the altar ever. Only the priests touch that. And thou shalt anoint the laver and its base, and consecrate it. Then thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tent of meetings. Let's see if it says tent of meetings. I guess it doesn't. Oh, yeah. Well, look at this. Then you should bring to the tent of meetings and wash them with water. This is after the tabernacle is the Mishkan is actually up. It's not up yet. He's just telling them to do it. This is still the 23rd day of the 10th month. Thou shalt put on the holy garment. Thou shalt put the holy garments on Aaron and anoint him and consecrate him that he may minister as a priest. So all this is what Yehovah is giving instructions, and Moses is going to do it on the 23rd day. And you shall bring his sons and clothe them with tunics. Then you shall anoint them as you anointed their father, that they may minister to me as priests. For the anointing shall surely be an everlasting priesthood throughout their generations. You know, these men would be leading us now, but Israel's seed played the harlot. They played the harlot. And Yehovah gave them over to other Elohim. Let's say that we have a temple go back up tomorrow. Are these priests, the people who call themselves Kohanim, going to be the priests of Yehovah? Who's going to anoint them? See, we don't even have somebody to anoint them. Yehovah's going to have to raise up somebody to anoint the priests. Was Moses ever anointed? Yehovah gave him the rod of Elohim. In a sense, when he plucked that rod of Elohim out of Raul's garden, remember, nobody else was able to pluck that rod out of the garden. It was growing in the ground. He plucked it. And that was the sign that he was going to be Yehovah's Melchizedek, king of the righteous. Melchizedek, the righteous's king. He didn't need to be anointed. Yehovah chose him by giving him the ability to take that rod. Then Yehovah told him all the other things, added Aaron to the situation, and you know how it works as we've gone through Exodus. Now 15. Or we did 15. 16. Thus Moses did, according to all that Yehovah commanded him, so he did. Okay? It says, thus Moses did. He hasn't done it yet. He's going to do it right now. This is the new thought that we're talking about. I guess I made them my new thought here. And it came to pass on the first day of the month of the second year, on the first day of the month, on the first month, on the second year, first day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised up. You see, now we're getting there. That was Yehovah 7 days earlier, telling him what he's going to do today. Now it's going to be done. What does my note say? Yeah, but this is the first day of the first month. That's right. This, Exodus 40, verse 17, is the first day of the first month. Now we're going to start doing the work. So Moses raised up the Mishkan. There it is, Mishkan. Mishkan. The Mishkan. Fastened its sockets. Set up its boards. Put in its bars. Raised up its pillars. He spread out the tent over the tabernacle and put the covering of the tent on top of it, as Yehovah commanded Moses 7 days earlier. So he took the took the testimony and put it in the ark. That's the tablets. Put it in the ark, inserted the poles through the rings of the ark, and put the mercy seat on top of the ark. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, hung up the veil, covered the veil of the covering, and partitioned off the ark of the testimony as Yehovah commanded Moses 7 days earlier. You see why they're saying as Yehovah commanded Moses? Because it commanded it earlier. And he put the table in the tent of meetings. Here it is. Put the table in the meeting tent. It really says in meeting tent. I have to put a the in just because it's English and we have to make it make sense. But it says in meeting tent. The Mishkan. That's what it says. On the north side of the Mishkan, outside the veil. And he set the bread in order upon it before Yehovah, as Yehovah commanded Moses 7 days earlier. He put the lampstand in the tabernacle of meeting, the tent of meeting, across from the table on the south side of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, Mishkan. And he lit the lamps before Yehovah, as Yehovah commanded 7 days earlier. Hey, if he can repeat himself, I can repeat myself. I'm making a point. So he put the gold altar in the tent of meeting, in front of the veil. And he burned sweet incense on it, as Yehovah commanded Moses. Is this what the boys were doing? Thinking that they're going to do burnt incense? What were they thinking? I can't even imagine. He hung up the screen at the door of the tabernacle. You know, it says he. Did Moses do all this stuff? Is Moses capable of doing all this stuff by himself? No. Yehovah told him to make certain things. He had the men of Israel make the things. Now Moses is telling him to set it up. Moses is having the men of Israel set it up. Got to think deeper. He hung up the screen at the door of the tabernacle. And he put the Olah offering before the door of the tabernacle. Look what it says. The tabernacle. Here, I wrote it here. Before the tabernacle, a tent of meeting. Or you could say a meeting tent. The tabernacle, before the tabernacle, I like that better. Let me fix my note. And you can see exactly what I'm saying. Before the tabernacle, a meeting tent. We're going to meet with Yehovah there. And raised up upon it the Olah. They put offered. It's not offered. This is the word right here. Where is it? I guess I didn't pull that word. Yeah, it's actually raised. It's raised. They raised upon it Olah and Minka. So the animals that they had set for that day, put them on the fire, and they went up in smoke, a sweet aroma to Yehovah. They put grain offering. Folks, this is a grain offering. Grain or maybe wine. But I think it's a grain offering, so I put it in grain. It's right. It's Minka. But it's Minka. It says Olah and Minka. The grain that goes into the fire is being raised up to Yehovah as Yehovah commanded Moses 7 days earlier. Where am I? And he set the laver between the tent of meeting and the altar and put the water there for washing. And Moses and Aaron and his sons would wash their hands and their feet with water from it. Whenever they went into the tent of meeting, when they came near the altar, they washed, as Moses commanded Moses 7 days earlier. And he raised up the court all around the tabernacle and the altar, and hung up the screen of the court gate. So Moses finish the work. Remember, this is Moses supervising the work. He didn't do the work himself. Then it says in 34, then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Yehovah filled the Mishkan. Mishkan. There it is right there. The Mishkan. And Moses was not able to enter the tabernacle of meetings, the tent of meetings, because the cloud rested upon it. And the glory of Yehovah filled the tabernacle. This is the glory of Yehovah filling the tabernacle in front of everybody. What a great and glorious day. Yehovah is dwelling with his people. Not the U.S. citizens, not the Egyptians, with the Ezra Haaretz, Israel's seed, pervertedly known as the children of Israel. Oh man, we've learned so many lies. Whenever the cloud was taken up from the Mishkan, Israel's seed would go onward in all their journeys. Israel's seed. Remember, we talked about this before in Exodus 33. He was talking about my messenger. I will send my messenger before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanites and the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. The pillar of fire is the messenger. He's the one that's going to lead them there. They got to follow the messenger. But if the cloud was taken up, they did not journey till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of Yehovah was above the tabernacle by day, the Mishkan by day. And fire was over it by night. In the sight of all, there it is, the Bayet, Israel's Bayet, the house of Israel. These are the Ezra men's. They are the house. It's a house is not a physical structure. This is a group of people, the Ezra men. Haaretz. Ezra Haaretz. Israel's seed. Israel's born in the land men. Haaretz. That's what is the land. Born in the land. Ezra Haaretz. Born in the land. Remember, it's about the land and the seed. The land and the seed. These are the seed. They're going to the land. Throughout all their journeys. So the cloud would raise up, go a short ways, and stay again, and there's where they would camp. Well, my last note on here was kind of like the first note on here. I probably could erase that first note because that was a little confusing, wasn't it, when we started? But now it makes more sense. This is the glorious day. And these are the names of Aaron's son. These are the day that these boys are going to be killed. Here they are here. And notice Nadab and Abihu are the two oldest boys. He lost his firstborn and his secondborn on this fantastic day that Yehovah appeared in his glory. Oh my goodness. Well, next week we are going to start Leviticus. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is the Olah. I want to say Olah offering. No, it's the Olah, the elevation or rising. Olah, elevation or rising. We raise up a sweet aroma to Yehovah. We're going to talk about that next week. Guys, hey, thank you for listening to me today. I'm so grateful that you came. I hope that you will come back. So appreciate you. Bye now.